The British monarchy has found itself once again at the intersection of personal pain and public scrutiny, and the latest controversy arises from Prince Harry's BBC interview, given just a few hours after his defeat in a legal bid to reinstate taxpayer funded security during his visits to the United Kingdom for himself and his family. And at the centre of the storm stands the King, Charles III, by turns a sovereign, a father, and increasingly a man caught between principle and paternal instinct. And the Duke of Sussex's remarks were both emotionally charged and politically perilous. He asserted that the decision to reduce his security, a move taken in the aftermath of the departure of Prince Harry from royal duties, was in effect a coordinated act of institutional hostility. I'm afraid I agree. He went as far as to call the outcome a good old-fashioned establishment stitch-up, a phrase more suited to a disgruntled backbencher than a prince of the realm, but nevertheless, if the reality is there, I don't see any reason why it shouldn't be said. Perhaps most painfully, he said that he doesn't know how much time his father has left, a reference to the king's ongoing treatment for cancer, seeming at once intimate and weaponised. And in response, Buckingham Palace has said little, but there's been an absolute flood of tittle-tattle from people who know. So there is briefing going on. They claim King Charles has been left disturbed and frustrated, not simply by his son's insistence on royal protection, but by what he perceives as a fundamental misunderstanding, even a rejection of constitutional propriety. Well, the point is, there are many people in the United Kingdom who have protection automatically simply because of the office that they once held, even if they held that office for, let's say, barely a month. And what I don't quite understand is somebody who has had physical threats made against him is denied that when he comes to this country, unless he goes through some sort of kowtowing to the Home Office. And the Home Office is not exactly speedy in any of these processes. For this dispute, what appears deeply personal is also fundamentally constitutional. The King, as sovereign, should not intervene in government decisions, especially in matters of national security. His role is ceremonial and symbolic, and for him to direct the Home Office or override RAVEC, the Royal and VIP Executive Committee, would be to violate a long-standing and vital principle, the separation of monarchy from executive governance. And yet, I feel Prince Harry is possibly correct. And to King Charles, this principle might matter. It's what distinguishes a constitutional monarch from an autocrat. To Harry, however, it seems cold, an abdication not of legal restraint but of family responsibility. He appears to interpret his father's silence as indifference, perhaps even abandonment, and herein lies the tragedy. I think there was room for the King to strongly support Prince Harry's suggestion that he could pay for that protection, or indeed that the Crown could take on payment for that protection whenever it was necessary. And I think that failure lies at the heart of the issue. We're witnessing not just a clash of personalities, but of worldviews. For Charles, duty to the Crown constrains what he can do as a father, and yet he could also pick up the phone and have contact. He doesn't seem to have done that either. I think he's hiding behind the Crown. And for Harry, the Crown has come to symbolise the very institutions that failed to protect him and his family. And I agree. Kate Williams, who is one of these many royal commentators, has aptly noted that the relationship is now bristling with anger and distrust. Reconciliation, while nominally desired on both sides, seems increasingly implausible, and the King has reportedly hoped for a quiet rapprochement prior to this latest interview. But Harry's decision to speak out once more and publicly has likely sealed the door, at least for now. And yet, the King's silence, I suppose, speaks volumes. There's no retaliatory interview, no emotional counterstrike, just this barrage of tittle-tattle. Is that a dignified distance shaped by constitutional necessity and personal fatigue? Those close to him say he remains particularly concerned that public resources have been expended defending decisions that should be his to make. or that should not be his to make. Um, I'm not sure. A lot of money has been wasted on this. More galling still is the implication widespread in media coverage and among Harry's allies that Charles simply doesn't care. Well, if he does care, then he needs to demonstrate it. Uh, I suspect the idea that the king doesn't care is the deepest wound, so what are we to make of that? On one level, it's a soap opera, palace intrigue fit for tabloids, but on another, it's an unfolding lesson in constitutional monarchy, generational trauma, and the limits of empathy when families become entangled with duty. Prince Harry's desire to reconcile appears genuine, but his methods seem counterproductive. His tone wavers between grievance and ultimatum, and for the king facing both family rupture and serious illness, these words, cannot help but sting. And I think they sting partly because they're true. Charles is a monarch bound by law and a father constrained by circumstance. Harry is a son burdened by past hurts and present indignity. Neither seems able for now to find the language or the setting that might allow healing to begin, and those who can act as a bridge between the two are stubbornly failing to do so. The late Queen Elizabeth II often remarked once, I think, and I believe that remark was fashioned by the Princess of Wales, that recollections may vary. Brilliant line. One might add now that recollection requires more than that reconciliation requires more than recollection. It demands restraint, trust, and time. And at present, all three seem to be in short supply. And what it needs is to be catapulted towards reciprocity and success with the aid of others. This is where, for example, a good Archbishop of Canterbury would be efficacious, but we don't have one. And the one we had seemed to be too busy toadying to his friends. What we need is a bridge builder. I don't know who that can be.